You do not have to suffer this in silence. You don't have to go through life in a marriage that doesn't serve you or doesn't serve your family, but you have to be able to put the work in on yourself to figure out what it is you want. And you have to do something for yourself every single day to see exactly where it is that you are feeling frustration and where these feelings are coming from. Because a lot of times it's not just, oh, my husband sucks at taking the trash out. It's, I feel unvalidated or unseen because he's not doing the things that I need him to do. And once you figure out where it's stemming from, then you can figure out how to best approach your marriage. I didn't get married to get divorced. And if it's something that is worth fighting for, then fight for it. Go to counseling. Go seek Michelle. Do whatever you need to do to try to fix that.
Welcome to the Marriage and Motherhood podcast. I'm your host, Michelle Perda. As a marriage coach who's married with 3 kids, I know how much parenthood could change a marriage. If flirting, laughing, and having fun together feels like a thing of the past, then I'm here to teach you that marriage doesn't have to feel so hard with your parents, and your marriage can thrive even when you're in the season of raising kids. Whether you're in a good place in your marriage and you just want to continue growing together, or you're wondering if you even like your spouse anymore, this podcast has something for you. Join me here each week as we dive into what it takes to help your marriage grow, and maybe even do a 180. You'll learn ways to handle conflict better, bring that spark back into your relationship, as well as learn how to improve other areas of your life from my lovely guest experts. Are you ready for the next stage of your life and marriage? Let's dive in. Hello. Welcome back to another episode of the Marriage and Motherhood podcast. This episode is a really special one because I have my new friend Lauren here, and we're going to be talking about what a lot of you may be experiencing. Maybe you're knee deep in it right now, and what she's gone through since having kids and how she has been able to turn things around. So we're talking about how having kids deeply affects your marriage. Most times, because I'm a marriage coach, people come talk to me when they need help. It's because the kids have negatively impacted their marriage, right? Just the whole shift in dynamic from being 2 adults, free to do whatever they please, whenever they want, to being full of responsibility and ending up resenting each other. And so here I have Lauren. She is a mom of 3. And she has her own amazing podcast that I highly suggest that you check out. But before we begin talking about this, I'm going to let Lauren introduce herself. Welcome to the show, Lauren. Can you please tell us where you live, how old your kids are, and tell us how you started this podcast and what it's all about?
Well, thank you. First of all, thank you so much for having me. It's such an honor, and I'm very excited to talk about this topic today. I am, as you said, a mom of 3. I have an 11-year-old daughter, a 9.5-year-old son, and a 6-year-old daughter. I live in Pennsylvania, and I decided to start my podcast because I felt so alone a lot of the times in my motherhood journey that I didn't want other women to feel the same way. I didn't want them to feel that whatever thoughts they had, good, bad, funny, whatever they are, I didn't want them to feel bad for having them. And I didn't want them to feel like they were, quote, crazy for having these thoughts, and like that they were the only person. And I feel so strongly that if we share our stories, somebody else out there can relate to it, and somebody else can feel like, oh my gosh, I thought the exact same thing about my kids at this age, or I was dying for my kids to go to sleep and I felt bad for feeling that way. So that's where the podcast started. And so I interview all different types of moms from all different types of backgrounds. We talk everything from car line and snacks in your rooms to the loss of a child. Like, we cover all sorts of topics.
Yeah, and I've had the honor of being a guest on her show for whenever that episode airs. I'm super excited for you guys to check that out. Can you share the name of your podcast so that people can tune in?
Sure. It's called Mind Your Mama. And you can get that on
it.
anywhere where you stream your podcasts from.
Awesome. Okay, so let's get into this because this is a pretty juicy topic and one that I know is like deeply, deeply personal to you because you guys have gone through such a huge transformation. So, how long have you been married? How long were you guys dating? All of the things. How long have you been together?
We've been together a total of 17 years, married
Mm-hmm.
for 14.
Yeah, that's a long
Yeah,
time.
it is. It is a long
Yeah.
time. We were dating for 3 years and then got married. And then we were married for, I would say probably about, yeah, close to 2.5 years
Okay.
before we had our first. Hmm.
Awesome. Okay. So, walk me through this. What was life like together before you had kids?
It was so much fun.
Yeah.
Like we just had so much fun. We were living together. We were, I guess what people say, dinks, double income, no kids.
Mm-hmm.
And it was wonderful. We would go out whenever we wanted. We had friends over whenever we wanted. We took vacations. We went to Switzerland. We went to Europe. To Italy. We went to Jamaica. We went to all of these places, and it was so fun. We were truly each other's best friends, and um, I felt so lucky and so blessed to have found this person that got me, that I could be myself around. And he's made comments too that I was the first person that he's ever been with that he could 100% be his true self around, which was like wonderful to hear. You feel special and you feel loved and seen, and it was wonderful.
Yeah, I mean, I can tell just from the huge smile on your face. So, what were you both envisioning when you decided, let's grow our family? What were you hoping life would be like?
Well, if I'm going to be honest, like he wanted more kids. He wanted 4 to 5 kids. And I was the one that was kind of like, well, I come from a big family. I'm one of five. And I love coming from a big family, but I saw how much work it was for my mom.
Mm-hmm.
And I was worried that I would be too much of a pushover, and I would just let my kids do whatever I wanted. And so I thought, oh gosh, no, we 2 kids max. Um, and we decided after we went to Switzerland and we had a few vacations under our belts and we were about to hit 30, or I was about to hit 30, he was a little older, that it was time to start having kids. I envisioned this the same life, basically. I envisioned us being a team. I envisioned us like that perfect little family where nobody fights, the baby goes to bed on time. Like, I was so naive. And I thought I knew exactly what it was like to be a mom. I helped raise my younger sisters. I was a babysitter at a young age. My older sister, had kids younger. So by this point, her oldest was like 10, and I had helped babysit them. I was like, I got this. It can't be that
Mm-hmm.
hard. I was so wrong. I was so wrong.
What's that phrase? Like, I'm going to butcher this. It's like when you think you're going to be a great mom until you are a mom and you're
Yeah.
like,
It's like
oh.
it's bliss, right? And I totally was. I was so ignorant to the fact that I was like, I'm going to be so great at this. And yeah, I might be a pushover, or yeah, I might be this, but I got this. And it was a very rude awakening.
Yeah. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So let's fast forward. You guys decided to have your first child.
Mm-hmm.
What was that like from being married with no kids to being married with one kid? How did that affect your marriage?
I think for my husband, he didn't think anything really had to change on his part. I
Okay.
really, he felt that he lived in a world where it was very much, well, I'm going to do what I want to do. Like that's what we've
Mm-hmm.
done our whole lives. We got to do whatever we wanted to do whenever we wanted to do it. And he didn't feel that he needed to change for that. And it was a very hard thing to watch or witness and be a part of when I'm watching my husband still think that he's, this kid free person, and I'm home taking care of this little human being all day. I had no idea the mental load it would take for me to be a mom. I did not know that I was going to be flooded with all these postpartum emotions and anxiety and just feeling like, what am I doing? I felt so lost. I thought, an infant, easy peasy. And it was not easy peasy. I mean, she wasn't a horrible baby or anything, but my anxiety was really high. And then feeling like I didn't have my best friend there to truly help me when I needed him was hard. Um, but to be fair and to be honest, like I didn't communicate that either. I didn't communicate it as much as I needed to.
And that is a very common thing that I'm finding whenever I
Mhm.
get down to like the nitty gritty of like, hey, how did my clients get to this point where they were good before and then all of a sudden they feel like strangers, or they feel like I don't even know you anymore. I don't even know if I like you. I know that there's still love there, right? I still
Yeah.
care about you, but
Mhm.
I don't want to hang out with you. Talking to you seems impossible, right? And it kind of sounds like that was what you were experiencing. You know you needed help, but you were having difficulty verbalizing it. Maybe even having to come to grips with like, why do I even have to tell you what I
Oh,
need?
oh, absolutely. Like you should know we're best friends. Like you should know that I'm struggling right now. You should know that this is hard for me. You should know that I just gave birth to another human being and know what that feels like. I mean, that's not fair for me to do that to him, but I did do that. And um, we had decided that I was going to work part time. So then you add on that one, my job was a nurse, and that's very demanding. And I was working in the hospital, I was taking call, and I didn't want to do that, but I did. And then working part time, I mean, our finances were cut, and that was stressful. And I had this resentment of him being able to go to work and be around people. And, his job at the time, he was starting up a new business, but he was still working at his old job. His old job was like so much fun. They had like a ping pong table for breaks, and they like the company would like just buy them these big lunches, and they'd go out and do these events and all this stuff. And I would get so jealous that he got to do that and I was home. Even though it was a decision we made together, it was still very hard to deal with.
Yeah, absolutely. And especially when we are raised to not really know how to deal with that jealousy, which then turns into resentment, right? Oftentimes, resentment is anger mixed with jealousy. It's stemming from jealousy of like, hey, how come you get to go to the gym when you want to? How come you get to leave the house and go to this fun place of work or socialize with other adults? And in that moment, it's where it's like very clear that previous generations did not feel empowered, and therefore they did not pass that down to us to empower
Mm-hmm.
ourselves to speak up and say, hey, I need time to myself. Instead, we're like, when's a good time for me to, it's very like,
Yeah.
like, how can I make this really convenient for me to go do this? As opposed to, our husbands or our male counterparts that were not raised to be timid about advocating for their needs, are like, hey, I got to get out. And then we kind of just work around them, right? So it's all
Yeah.
like we enable that to happen, which is great. They still need their time, but we're not doing the same for ourselves. So,
Mm-hmm.
how did this all play out with you feeling this jealousy, feeling like you weren't empowered to go do the same for yourself? How did that affect your own well being? How did that affect how you felt as a mom? And how did that affect your marriage?
I mean, I was miserable. Um, I slowly started seeing like he would come home from work and I would just be annoyed that he was home, and be like, ugh, I can't believe you're home. Like, what else? Where else are you going to go? But I would get upset at that. I would get frustrated with him talking about his day, or um, just literally him breathing sometimes annoyed me. And I was like, I can't stand you. And then add on having my son, who my older two, they're only 18 months apart. It was really, really difficult. I I just remember hating a lot of things, and hating him for a long time. And he didn't do the things that I needed for him to do. He still thought that he could do what he wanted because I was home and I was the primary caretaker. And he's not an infant dad. He's not a little toddler dad. He's a great dad now that they're older and he can go do things with them, but he just wasn't cut out for that. And he's made comments that he didn't realize how much work was involved in having kids. And because why should he know that? His mom did everything for everyone all the time, and his dad got to go do whatever he wanted to do. They lived very separate lives, him and his mom and his dad. So that's what was modeled for him. And it was normal for him to just be like, oh, well, I'm going to go join a hockey league. Oh, I'm just going to go to, I need to join the gym. I'm going to go out with my friends after work. And I was so jealous. Like you said, I was so jealous because I would schedule my showers around his work schedule so I could get peace and quiet. And then that wouldn't always happen. He would let the kids come in to my shower and cry and I need you and I want you and I want this. And meanwhile, he can go sit in the bathroom for 45 minutes completely uninterrupted. And I'm mad at that. And I was showing up every day exhausted, short tempered, um, angry. I just was not the best mom. I wasn't the best, certainly wasn't the best wife. Um, and I just, I lost myself in that process for a very long time. I didn't know who I was for a very, very long time. And that was very hard.
Yeah, absolutely. And the whole time you were sharing this, which like many people can relate to, like my mom can certainly relate to that story, and that led
Mm-hmm.
to their divorce.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I read something maybe last year where it said men of previous generations and even our generation
Mm-hmm.
were taught to have kids, but not taught how to raise kids.
Oh,
So it's
yeah.
like, oh, I want to have kids, but it's not the same as wanting to be a dad, right? Being a dad is very much a verb. Like
Mm-hmm.
it is an active thing.
Yeah.
Having kids, it's like, cool, I'm going to spread my seed. Someone else is
Mm-hmm.
going to birth these kids
Right.
and they're going to raise them. And that has been people's stories for so long,
So long. It's
right?
sad.
Like my
Mhm.
dad saw that modeled, he repeated it. Thank
Mhm.
goodness I found a partner who isn't going to continue that line for our family. My husband is very much a very active father,
Mhm.
and I think that it puts us in a very difficult situation because we want to be like, well, you're grown, you have eyes just as much as I do. You're in the same home. Why don't you
Yeah.
notice the
Mhm.
things that need to be done?
Mhm.
But we also have to consider what have they been trained to notice in
Right.
their upbringing? What did their parents prioritize for them as kids? Most likely sports, most
Mhm.
likely something to achieve, right? Being handy. They were not
Mhm.
about, oh, go take care of your little siblings, right? And
Right.
I'm generalizing, by the way. That I know not all men are like this, obviously, because my husband's not like this, but this is just like a generational thing where it's like, oh, you go get smarter, go get your degrees, go do
Mhm.
sports, get scholarships, go get that high paying job. And that's all you have to do. Go find a wife, go
Mhm.
have kids, but that's it. It's not go have kids, be a father, right?
Right.
And so then we're left here. We've been taught all this time for decades, oh, be nice, be
Mhm.
more considerate. How are they feeling about it? Shove your own feelings down. Your
Mhm.
feelings are inconveniencing other people. That's uncomfortable. Don't do that, right? And so naturally, those two kind of like lean a certain way to support the men, not so much both ways, right? And so
Oh,
now we're in this situation where we have to kind of make a shift more towards the middle, where it's like,
yeah,
yeah, you get to have your own self-care time. You get to take care of yourself. But also I do too.
right,
Also, these are your kids. This is your house and we're going to share in this because this is going to only lead to the demise of our marriage because I'm going to be burnt out. I'm not going to want to talk to you. I'm not going to want to hang out with you. I'm not going to want to be intimate with you or do anything with you.
right. Yeah. It was a dark time in our marriage. I won't lie. Like it was bad. I still don't know if he felt the exact same way that I did, but I was ready to call it quits. And I was ready to be like, this is it. Like we're completely done. Um, Somehow we had a third child and that happened. And I hit rock bottom after I had her. I honestly did. She's my little ray of sunshine, but oh my gosh, was I in a bad place like after I had her. I wasn't considered I didn't have postpartum depression. I had what my doctor called the baby blues, and he kept telling me because I had her older, a little older in life. I was 37, yeah, 37 when I delivered her, and I just kept being told, you're old, and you're fine. And I was miserable. I looked in the mirror one day and I'm like, I don't even know who I am. I don't know what I'm doing here. I don't know how I got here. I don't know who my husband is anymore. We're so far gone. Um, and it was depressing. And my husband, like you were saying, like, yes, he was told, yeah, you get married, you have kids. And his family was like, the man, like, goes to work and they work, 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 work. And they had this really strong, great work ethic, but his home life was shit. Like, it was not where it needed to be. And he thought, well, I'm better than my dad. Well, okay, good. So you might say goodnight to your child or whatever, but if they cry in the middle of the night, you're not getting up. I get up. If they have a stomach ache, it's me that has to deal with it. If they fall down, it's me. Feeding them, bathing them, dressing them, all of them. It was me. And trying to work and trying to raise a family and be a friend and be a sister and be all of these things that we're told we have to be for other people. And I swear I looked in the mirror one day and I was like, I have no idea who's looking back at me. I just don't know. And do I like the color blue anymore? Is my favorite food pizza? Like I don't know because I attached my identity to my kids and I did not do anything really for myself or for my marriage or to make any of that any better. Yeah, it was rough.
Yeah, it's like you kind of got lost in your own circumstances and you
Yeah.
look back and you're like, how did so much time pass? How did I get in this place? I was so excited to build a life, and this is not panning out how I envisioned it. So, what were the signs that you saw in your marriage that you were like, something has got to change? Like, what was communication like? What was it like to be in the same room with each other? Were you guys laughing at all? Like what was the situation?
I think the moment I realized that something was deeply wrong was um, I do not believe in cheating. I don't believe in any of that. I think if you have an issue and whatever, like you should leave first. Um, and I didn't care. I didn't care if he cheated on me, honestly. I was like, I don't care. You can go do your needs aren't being met, my needs aren't being met. I wouldn't blame you for going somewhere else. I don't even think I'd be mad at this point because I just don't have the strength to care. And that was really hard. That was really hard for me to come to that like realization of being like, I don't care what you do. Go away. We weren't we weren't connecting. We weren't having fun together. Our idea of connecting and being together was sitting on the couch and watching a show, and both of us being on our phones, not even like engaged in the show, and then be like, all right, well, good night. I went to bed before he did. He would come to bed hours later, and then that was it. So um that was a really eye-opening moment, and I just honestly didn't care, like, if he came home. I mean, I didn't want anything bad to happen to him, but, like, I didn't care, like, come home, dinner's ready, eat, and I'll do all of this, and you can sit on your phone and be totally unengaged, because that's just who you are as a person. I'd given up on the fact that I thought my husband and I could ever get back to where we were before kids, and that just seemed like a 2 lifetimes ago.
Yeah, so it seems like you essentially started living very parallel lives where
Mhm.
you're like, with your indifference of him being home or not, it's like, either way, I'm going to be doing the same stuff,
Mhm.
whether you're home or you're not. So, like, do whatever you want with your life. So, what did that look like in terms of communication? Did you guys just not talk about anything at all unless it was necessary? Did you guys have any conflict? Or was it more like, it's not even worth bringing up anything anymore?
I think it was kind of a combination of all of it.
Yeah.
Um, there were things that I was like, whatever, I'm not even going to bring this up. Who cares? I don't feel like wasting my energy. I don't want to. I'm so tired. I don't even have the energy to talk to you. Or we would have these extreme blow up fights over some stuff was small, some stuff was big. Because we would let it fester and we would let it build up and build up and build up. And then finally we would just come to blows, and we'd have these massive, massive fights. Where like I would leave and my kids would be like crying, "Mom, no, don't leave." And I'm like, "I'm out of here," and that's not healthy. Um, so yeah, we finally decided to see a therapist. And my mentality, it wasn't me that brought it up, to see a therapist. My husband did, and he was like, we're not in a good place. Let's talk to somebody. And I strongly felt that if we couldn't fix it on our own, then there was no point in going to see a therapist whatsoever. And wasting the time finding a babysitter, like, the whole rigmarole that you need to do to get out of the house to go anywhere. Um, And finally, I don't know what changed. I agreed for the sake of saying, like, okay, well, I guess I can do it so I can say I did everything possible. Um, we're still in therapy to this day, and it's been a couple years, but it's made a difference. I will have to give him the the kudos, because it did make a difference. And there is genuine love there. There was I care about you, and I don't want anything bad to happen to you, but like, am I in love with you anymore? Do I really want to do this for the next 30 years of my life? Like, ugh. So there was a lot to work out there, but
Yeah.
mhm,
And I don't think you're alone in how you're thinking. Like, if we can't figure this out with someone else who doesn't even know us, what are they going to do to help us?
mhm.
And I can say that I hear that a lot,
Yeah.
right? There's a lot of reluctance.
Mhm.
And I will say, and we talked about this on your podcast, that there is so much value to having an outside perspective, one who works with relationships day in, day
Mhm.
out. Just like how there are experts in all fields, like plumbing, like construction, right? Or like a general contractor. Let's say you need to renovate your house because your house is so damaged, you're like, I need to fix this. You
Mhm.
can try and do it yourself. There are so many resources out there that you can learn from, books and courses, whatever, right? There are plenty of DIY methods. But when you have someone come in who is an expert in that particular subject, they're going to be able to help you figure out what is going on, what you need to work on, and what tools would be most useful for you so much faster than you figuring
Right.
it out on your own. And especially when it comes to relationships, it's kind of like with parenting where, you can watch someone else, right? Another mom struggling with their kid and be like, oh, I see what's going on. Because you're not in it, right? Your emotions
Mhm.
aren't clouding your judgment.
Right.
And you're not thinking of all this like history that's like flooding through your head and just muddying the clarity of the situation for you.
Mhm.
And so I'm so glad that you came around and sought out professional help and that it has helped you. So now that you are years into working with someone,
Mhm.
how are things now?
I mean, they're by no means perfect, but I mean, we do a lot more together. We have date days now that I'm home more during the day, not working full time. We do date days, so we don't have to pay for a babysitter at night. So we get lunch once a week. We sit down and really talk about our feelings or what bothered us or even our goals and our aspirations and what we want. It still is a struggle sometimes to get that out, but it's definitely better than where it was. I definitely look forward to him coming home and not, you know, him breathing doesn't bother me as much
Or
as it used
chewing too
to.
loud?
Yeah, like, oh, will you stop? And yeah, like just it's more cohesive, and then therefore, like the whole house is better, right? Like
Yes.
the kids are happier when they see us, being affectionate. They love that and they giggle and they're like, oh, and they come over and give us like family hugs. Like that didn't happen. And it's just respecting where he's at as a person and respecting where I'm at as a person and realizing that you have strengths and I have strengths and they might not be the same. So, how can we make them work together and not be so jealous of the fact that he is doing whatever he's doing and I'm doing whatever I'm doing? There's more of a respect. Like, I always wanted him to have an outlet, always. I never didn't want him to ever not feel like he had an outlet. But I was jealous of the fact that I felt that way and I didn't get that in return. It was like, well, just, take the kids with you to the gym. Well, like, yes, it's nice that I can take the kids with me to the gym, but I would also like to just go by myself, and not have to hear them screaming in the other room while I'm trying to work out. And it's stuff like that little bit of communication goes a long way where he's like, oh, well, I just didn't think it was that big of a deal. I don't know
Yeah.
how he didn't know that, but
Well, I think it's truly a compliment to you because he thinks that you make it look easy. Like you are really good at doing that. And so they don't recognize the internal struggle that we're feeling because sometimes we
Mhm.
don't show it, right?
Mhm.
And we're not communicating it because if we're not like blowing up at the kids or just like saying how much of a hard time we're having, sometimes they're truly like, oh, I didn't realize it was going to be a hindrance because you make it look so easy. You're so much better at it than me. And it's misplaced.
Yeah.
Right?
But
But like, I don't think there's any malintent in saying that, but they also need to recognize, like, yeah, even if it isn't like a big deal, like sometimes I still like to be by myself. Like, I need time to be myself, whether it's with friends or just truly alone, because that's how we take care of ourselves, right? Is to reconnect with ourselves, especially as moms, since the second the baby comes out, it's like,
yeah.
they're on us all the
Yeah.
time. And it almost seems like that phase never ends until we decide to speak up for ourselves and ask for, or not even ask, but like just say we need something different, right?
Mhm.
So obviously, you say you guys are not perfect. No one ever is, right?
Right.
No
Mhm.
relationship ever will be. But obviously, going from a place of fully resenting your husband, not even caring if he's home, just truly being indifferent and having trouble communicating, that's going to take time to repair and create new ways of being. What were the biggest challenges that you faced or continue facing while trying to get through these changes to get to a new normal, get to the kind of partnership and marriage that you want?
I definitely think a big challenge is communication. Not so much, I mean, I'm fine to communicate. And my husband is, but he's not at the same time. I have to be the one that initiates a lot of it. And I have to be the one to be like, okay, remember, we're supposed to sit down and we're supposed to do this. Um, so that's challenging. And, um, it's better for sure. It's definitely better, but I still feel like I'm the one that has to do the initiating, and I'm the one that has
Mm-hmm.
to be the one to be like, remember, we're working on this for us. So with that comes a little bit of frustration.
Yeah.
But I think being able to recognize that I'm frustrated with that fact and communicating that is leaps and bounds where we were.
Yeah.
Because I'd be frustrated, sure, but I would harbor it and I would let it sit and fester and all this stuff. So, now it's communication and it's trying to make the time. I've learned that my love language is quality time.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that's the one that I resonate the most with. So trying to find that time of true connection and true being together, not just like let's run to Costco together. I mean, I want to like sit down and talk, and I want to have unfiltered and uninterrupted time with you, because that's when I feel the closest, and that's when I feel our marriage is the strongest, is when we are able to do things together and communicate better.
Yeah. I will say that you could still turn a Costco trip into quality time if you set the intention.
Right.
Because it can just be like, oh, okay, we're just doing an errand and whatever. It's like
Hmm.
nothing. But I've learned and have seen the positive effects of romanticizing certain moments in life. Like, oh, we're alone.
Yeah.
We're doing this alone. Even if it's like, okay, Costco, like that's really
Right.
romantic. But if you're like, no, we're doing this alone, we get to talk about whatever you want. We get to like peruse down the aisles and look at whatever we want together. We can talk about our past, like childhood. We can talk about foods that we want to try. There are so many things that can come up on a
Yeah.
trip to Costco if you are intentional about it. And this can
For sure.
span many different ways of doing life together, right? Okay, so how has now prioritizing your marriage with your weekly dates, with your more reflective talks, how
Hmm.
has that affected your own well being, your parenting, and the way you're experiencing your relationship now?
Well, it's definitely made me less short fused. It's made me
Mm-hmm.
more connected. It's made me happier. I'm just a
Yeah,
happier person. And we all know that when mom is happy, the whole house is happy, because we are the heartbeat of the home. And
we are.
I just, everything seems to be better. Not perfect, but better. And when I learn that I too matter, and I need to have time for myself and prioritizing my needs first, like that is when that the whole like this massive shift happened. And
Mm-hmm.
it was like, I'm not wrong, I'm not selfish, I'm not a bad mom, I'm not a bad wife, because I need to put myself and my needs first so I can help everyone else. It's like the good old saying, one, you can't pour from an empty cup, and you got to put your oxygen mask on first so you can
Mm-hmm.
help everybody else. And I used to roll my eyes at that and be like, oh, sure. But it's really true. It's really true. When you love yourself enough, and you love your family enough to want to do whatever you can, that means yourself too, and that means putting yourself first. So overall, I would on a nursing scale, the nurses will get it like 0 to 10, like 10 being the best and 0 being the worst. I would say our marriage is probably at like a 7 to an 8 on most days. And some days we reach euphoric 10 levels and some days
Mm-hmm.
we don't. And that's okay. It's just knowing that we're in this together, we're in this for the long haul. And ultimately, it just makes for happier little humans in the home. And then I want them to have a good, when they think of their childhood, I want them to think of happiness and not fighting. And I want them to be shown what a good, healthy relationship is. That's so important for all three of my kids, not just my daughters, for my son as well.
Yeah. And also, it's important for you, right?
Hmm.
Your marriage is the single most impactful relationship that you have on
Hmm.
your well being.
Yeah.
When we're happy in our marriage, like it seems like we're more confident, we're more creative, we're more like compassionate, loving, fun, all of the things.
Yeah.
And that goes so well when we love ourselves most. So I'm so glad that throughout this process, you have come to realize that your needs do matter. And
Hmm.
it's almost like we need to recalibrate what self preservation means, right? It goes beyond eating, getting water, having shelter. It's also about, hey, how do I feel? You said it yourself, moms are the heartbeat of the family. I say we're the heart of the family. And it's
Hmm.
like, if we're not going strong and we're the one that's pumping blood to all the other areas of the family, the whole family's going down then,
Absolutely. Hmm.
right? And
Hmm.
so your kids are so lucky that you are doing the work to have them have a happy mom and also pave the way to showing them, hey, you get to take care of yourself because that matters. Like that is
Hmm.
so important. You get to have a healthy relationship. This is what partnership looks like. This is what healthy communication looks like. This is what it looks like to be married with kids. So we have to think long term.
Yeah.
And that's not the easiest thing all the time. Sometimes we feel like being petty. Sometimes we feel like just letting our emotions take control of the situation because that's what we feel like we have to do in that moment to survive.
Hmm.
But truly, to look after ourselves, we have to think about the bigger picture. How is this all going to play out if I keep going the way that we're going? How is this going to play out for me? Do I want to live out my days like this? Is this what I signed up for? Is this what I want my kids to repeat?
Yeah.
Probably not.
Right. Yep. Yep, exactly. Like I just want, as moms, we just want better, right? We want better for our
Hmm.
kids than we had growing up. And that means doing the hard work. That means showing up in a different way that was modeled to most of us, because most of us in our generation had parents that grew up and you didn't talk about your feelings.
Nope.
The woman had to stay home and do it all, and the man went to work, and that was it. And that's just not where we are anymore. But yet we still hold on to those old gender roles, and it has to change.
It definitely does. And I'm seeing that now in a lot of
Mhm.
people, thank goodness, because
Mhm.
before it was like, yeah, we want better for our kids, but it was purely from a financial standpoint. I want
Yeah.
to be able to provide more for our kids. I want them to live in a better neighborhood or be able to do more extracurriculars or whatever it is. But now it's shifting to, okay, that is great, but if the emotional well being of the household is poor,
Mhm.
then that part almost doesn't matter as much. Like, okay, let's just cover the bare minimum, but our well being matters so much more than what we have materialistically.
Right.
And I
Absolutely.
think that's a beautiful thing to come about all of this, right?
Mhm.
Okay, so for the mom who is listening and she's feeling disconnected and stuck in resentment, she knows she wants better, but she's just tired. She's
Yeah.
tired of fighting. She's tired of whatever it is that is going on. What is something that you recommend that she do to shift things in her life, in her marriage, in her general experience?
I think first and foremost, I want you to know that you're not alone. You do not have to suffer this in silence. your feelings matter, your way of life, whatever you want for your family, that matters, all of it. You have to love yourself to figure out what it is that you want. And you don't have to go through life tired. You don't have to go through life in a marriage that doesn't serve you or doesn't serve your family. But you have to be able to put the work in on yourself a little bit to figure out what it is you want. And you have to do something for yourself every single day. You have to do something that serves you and only you. A lot of times when people would say self-care, to me that meant like, oh, I get to go get my nails done, or I get to get my hair cut, or I get to take a long shower. Like, those things are wonderful, and I want you to be able to do those things. But what matters is, or what self-care really looks like, is pouring into yourself every day. Go for a walk, eat a healthy meal, journal, do something that's just for you, to see exactly where it is that you are feeling frustration and where these feelings are coming from. Because a lot of times it's not just, oh, my husband sucks at taking the trash out. It's, I feel unvalidated or unseen because he's not doing the things that I need him to do or whatever. And it really comes back to something inside of you that you need to figure out what is going on. And once you figure out where it's stemming from, then you can figure out how to move forward and how to best approach your marriage. You know, I didn't get married to get divorced, and I know most people don't do that. So if it's something that you figure out at the end of the day is worth fighting for, then fight for it. Go to counseling, go seek Michelle, do whatever you need to do to try to fix that, because like she said earlier, your marriage is the most important relationship that you're going to have, second to the one that you have with yourself. And you need to know also that this fatigue, it does eventually go away, but you have to work through it right now, and you have to figure out where that exhaustion is truly coming from.
Yeah, nothing changes if nothing changes.
Mm-hmm.
And like I've said many, many times before, for those who are loyal listeners to the show, that you do need to slow down to speed up. We are so busy in life doing all the things. And I will say some of that is self-induced and in
Sure.
long term don't really matter or help push our lives forward towards a direction that we want it to go. And so it is so impactful for us to just give ourselves time to be like, how do I feel about things right now?
Mm-hmm.
What is something that has been really bringing me down? And what can I do about it? What would I like it to be like instead? Just asking yourself these really insightful questions will help you take that next step. Maybe it's not a grand step, right? It doesn't have to be super big, but even little baby steps towards a better life is going to make yourself feel so much lighter. And next thing you know, you're like, wow, life is pretty good. Obviously, there's going to be frustrating moments because we're always going to be presented with challenges to help us grow. But where you have the option to simplify and improve your life, I say do it.
Yeah. And another thing is, like, we feel that we need to take it all on ourselves,
Hmm.
and asking for the help that you need goes so far. And, you know, we often think like, oh, it's just us, you know, it's me in this one person village. If you have somebody that's willing to help you, accept the help and give yourself that break that you need.
Absolutely. We're always more than happy to help other people. We need to
Mhm.
also let other people be there for us because it feels good when we're there for other people.
Mhm.
And that's how we really create great friendships and a great community when we are there for each other. It is give and take. And I think women often forget to take. So thank you so much, Lauren, for being part of the show. I have loved having this conversation. This is so necessary. And I know a lot of the listeners here are going to be like, oh my gosh, this is my life. You are literally talking about my life right now. Can you share your podcast again with the listeners and also let them know what's the best way to connect with you if they want to reach out?
Sure. Awesome. Thank you. My podcast is Mind Your Mama, and you can find that anywhere where you get your podcasts. I am on Instagram at mind.yourmama. And you can certainly DM me on there if there's anything you want to talk about, anything you'd like to hear on my podcast, any questions, or you can send me an email at lauren@mindyourmama.org and I'll get back to you.
Love it. All right, listeners, thank you so much for tuning in. I hope that you are walking away from this episode with at least one takeaway to shift your life, shift your experience with your marriage, because you deserve what you envisioned when you said, yeah, let's grow our family, let's grow our love. So even if it feels really hard right now, know that it doesn't have to be forever. And it's one of those like choose your hard moments. It's like, do you want to keep dealing with this, or do you want to take that courage and take that hard step to find someone to help you to get the help that you need? If you are ready for that, obviously, I would love to chat with you so you can get the help that you need. If you know someone that could benefit from hearing this episode, please send it to them. Share it with them so that they can feel like they're not alone and know that there is help out there, and learn from Lauren's experiences. And that's all I have for you. I will catch you back here on the next episode. Bye.
Bye.
That's it for this episode. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I enjoyed making it. If you did, please send me a message over on Instagram at Michelle Perta Coaching to let me know what you loved most about it. Hearing from my listeners is my absolute favorite. And if you've been loving this podcast, please leave a rating and review. This will help people like you find the show and get the help they need. Catch you here on the next episode. Bye.